This is Lewis Hart from Into Boxing, and I'm delighted today to be joined with MMA legend, now turned into boxing, Mr. Vitor Belfort. How are we?
I'm doing amazing. Heavenly blessed.
How's
And
this? Obviously, 3 weeks away from your big fight versus Hasim Rahman Jr. How's camp going? How's that been for you?
amazing. It's always a learning experience, growing, getting better every day, and one day at a time.
You've been competing in combat sports for a long time, almost, for a span of over 20 years. How does how does training in boxing now and having boxing fights, compare to, when you was in MMA, when you was in Affliction, Pride, UFC, how does that compare now? And how's your training developed throughout the years?
It's much fun and it's much easier in a way. It's much easier in your body because boxing, I think you can do it at old age. MMA is hard. It's pretty fun. I love boxing, and I always did boxing as a martial arts, and now I'll be able to do it as a sport. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, when you first got the call, obviously your first fight was Evander Holyfield. Well, it was meant to be De La Hoya. What was that like when you got the call that you thought it was going to be De La Hoya, then it ended up being Evander Holyfield, who's obviously a legend of the game.
It's tough, when you get to compete against these guys, they have all the baggage. You're going against the legends, the OGs of the sport. So it was a privilege to me, and I got the W, and that's what it is. It's pass over to the next, and that's what is the competition is about.
Moving on to your next opponent on November 19th, Hasim Rahman Jr. Obviously, we haven't seen much of him, but we haven't seen much of him, but his dad is obviously a legend of the game, former heavyweight champion. What do you make of him, of Hasim Rahman Jr. as an opponent?
He's a tough guy, young guy with a lot of youth on him. So I'm planning to stop him. I'm planning to go out there and just beat him. That's what I'm planning to do.
Have you watched much of his previous fights?
Watch his last fight, study what the recent he's been doing, and I'm looking to go out there. And I think I have all the tools to what I have to put in practice. That's what it is.
Obviously, this fight's going to be on the Misfits card. What's that like, and how is that different from like you obviously like your last fight was on Triller? I don't believe Triller are doing any more boxing. I'm pretty sure. How is Triller? How has this been different with Misfits to Triller?
you know, it's every organization is different. What I like about this is something that I can see. The zone is a misfit, and the zone is a. You're talking about great companies that have been a long time, and what's good with Triller, nothing negative about it's just about accomplish. I think they're going to be accomplished more things, and I think I wish the best for Triller. I wish the best for Misfits, but the zone is the house of boxing, so I'm looking forward to this
Yeah.
opportunity.
I see your old boss Dana White. He weren't the biggest fan of Triller, and he's obviously not the bad. He wasn't the biggest fan of De La Hoya. When you were meant to fight him as well.
Yeah, it is what it is. Everybody's trying to feed their own cow. He's trying to feed his own cow, and I don't mind. He's one of the best promoters in MMA, but it's a lot of other people are doing a great job, and Misfits is one of them. Triller is one of them, and the more we have, the better it is for the fighters and for the fans.
Do you still keep up to date with a lot of the stuff in the UFC?
As we chat here and there, I have so much respect for him, and he has for me as well. So
Yeah, obviously in your last fight, you called out Jake Paul, and he recently had, he recently had a fight with someone who is, who you shared the octagon with, Anderson Silva. What did you make of that fight? And after this fight, is the intention still to fight Jake Paul?
I have Rasan Hockman Jr. in front of me. That's what I have, and that's what I'm going to be doing.
Is it hard? What? Oh, sorry. What did you
Go
watch
ahead.
the fight?
No, I didn't watch the fight. I'm training my camp. I'm focused on what I'm doing. So I watched this later, but I heard it was a good fight.
What do you make of Jake Paul and what are your thoughts on both of them now?
I don't know, man. I don't have nothing bad to say, but it's appreciating what these two guys are doing for the sport, and they putting themselves there. Much respect for both guys.
Do you still like? Obviously, it was a heated rivalry with Anderson Silva back in the day. Do you still have sort of, is it all respect now after you shared the octagon with him?
I always had respect for every guy who stepped in to fight, and that's for sure is something that I would love to fight them both guys in the future. That's the two guys that have paving the way, and we're ready for it when the time
I,
comes.
I was going to ask you that question. I know you said you don't care about, like you said, you weren't really bothered. But Jake Paul, he seems to be like he wants to, he's fighting a lot of ex-UFC guys. Obviously, you being one of them. Anderson Silva is someone that you have obviously previously fought before. What would mean more to you? Would it be settling the score with Anderson Silva or shutting up Jake Paul?
We see what's next. What's next is a Rahman Jr., and that's what's in front of me. That's what I'm focused right now. After that, we're gonna see a lot of options there, and we see what's the best one.
Yeah. As I said before, you've achieved so much in the game in terms of you've been doing it for so long. You've had such great highs of the career. You knocked out an idol of mine, Michael Bisping. Like winning the UFC, winning the UFC tournament, like when you were my age, 20. What keeps you motivated and keeps you going? Keeps you training, keeps you hungry after being in the game for so long.
My God, my family, and what I believe. I do what I love. It's fun. It just makes me younger again.
Yeah, and just to finish off, you mentioned God a lot. How important is faith for you, just within your mentality, training, and how special is that to your heart?
It's everything. When it's said and done. My body, my psyche is gonna end up one day, but my spirit live forever. And I think without God, nothing you do, you achieve something eternity. And that's what I'm looking for. Every time I do something, I try to do as I'm doing for God. This can have an effect on eternity. So I'm looking to live forever. And I think we all do, but not everyone going to live forever at the same time. I want to live forever good. So that's the only way to do it with God.
Is this something you've always had throughout your whole career? Is this always something since you were, you're a teenager, since you were a young guy, you've always had God with your side?
I always knew God exists, but He's a person. Jesus died on that cross, for me and for you and for all of us. So, but you have to accept Him. You have to live for Him. You have to believe Him, and you have to live for Him. So it takes sacrifice. It's sacrifice. So I love it, and I enjoy getting better every day on that as well.
Yeah. And like I said, when you've been in the game for so long, what's it like when you try new things and you're learning new things? Like you obviously boxed before at the start of your combat sports career, but now you're picking it up. What's it like for you to be learning? When you've had such a long career.
If you're not learning, you're dying. If you're not getting better, you're getting worse. That's how I approach life. So, the journey.
Yeah. Yeah. Just to finish off, is there any message you want to send to Hasim Rahman?
I don't have any message to send to him. I know where he's going to be, and let's get it. I wish him all the best of luck on his training camp, and let's go.
Well, Vitor, I really appreciate your time. Thank you, mate. Like I said, I'm a massive UFC fan. You're a legend to me, so I appreciate your time, man. Thank you. Thank you. Cheers,
Take
man.
care.
Cheers,
Bye.
man. You too.